Welcome along to this Castrol special. We've got something very special to talk about today, and two guys who know what they're doing. Jack Perkins, hello to you.
Hello, Noonan.
Great to have you here. And Thomas Randle from Castrol Racing. Hello, Tomas.
Hello, Aaron. Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you. And later in the year, there's something really exciting for you because Castrol and Tickford are going to go retro again with the number 55 Mustang. That's exciting.
It is. I mean, the last couple of years, we've done a retro livery at Sandown, and it's always been super popular with the fans. The first crack we had was the Tom Super livery, which we did in 2024.
Makes sense.
That did look good, though.
Well, when it's Tom driving the car, the Tom Super makes sense, doesn't it?
True.
Yeah, that thing was amazing. And it's not just the livery. You know, we've done merch, did the race suits, which was amazing. And then last year we stepped it up again and we did the amazing sawtooth livery that your dad ran back in the 90s, 3 Bathurst wins. Unfortunately, we couldn't follow suit and get a Bathurst victory last year. But again, that just was so popular with everyone. And we're getting the model cars made up as well. Merchandise, race suits. We even did a helmet, which I auctioned off earlier in the year. But it's been a real hit with the fans.
And the great part is for 2026, it's coming back again. And the fans of Supercars racing have the chance to have their say to decide what your car is going to look like. And through these specials and through V8 Sleuth and through the undercut, we're going to be able to do that over the course of upcoming weeks and months. Fans will have the chance to take a look at all the liveries from the past and decide which one gets the nod for your car for this year. But I thought we should start with an episode just to look back at some of the great history of Castrol race cars, and maybe this jogs the memory on a few things that you go, ooh, that might be good. That might be what we go with. So, I mean, Jack, you've seen the retro liveries. You've been around, of course, your dad's cars for so many years. You've driven Castrol cars yourself. Is there anything that you've got a little itch that you'd like to scratch to go, I'd love to see X car be run?
Well, it's first of all, I just love celebrating these old cars and liveries. That's right in my wheelhouse, Nerds, and the fact that Castrol also want to do it is a really good testament to Castrol, and the fact that all their Castrol cars, no matter who's driven them anywhere around the world, they're iconic.
Yeah.
It's an iconic brand. The liveries are always very iconic. So, I mean, obviously, I've been fortunate enough to do the 93 one when I was racing in the Super 2 car, and all of these old cars, the liveries on the old cars just look so much better on the new cars, regardless of what the livery actually is. So I've loved seeing those. I think Rick Kelly did it as well. Thomas did it last year. They've been really cool. But there's certainly a couple that we're going to look at here today. But look, I think any Castrol black, red and green car looks great. So I welcome seeing it on a new body shape, if that makes sense.
But the good thing is that not all of them have been red, white and green over the journey. And I've got an example that I wanted to start with here. Let's go back into the vault and to the files. 1992, it's not Larry Perkins, it's not Tony Longhurst, it's not any Castrol driver that you might remember. Let's start with a privateer car. And you might think privateers, oh, come on, they're not big ticket, they're not big name. Alf Barbagallo's VN Group A Commodore. Have a look at this car. This is the car that he raced. It was a Perkins customer car, wasn't it, Jack?
Yeah, and Noons, it's been restored to these colours. And I've raced it at the Muscle Car Masters, and I could see how hard it was to beat those Skylines and the Sierras, but that's beyond the point. This car looked very cool. Alf Barbagallo was a customer of Perkins Engineering. Like you said, this particular car was chassis number 15, and it's an iconic car because it's one of the only Perkins cars that have got center locks. But diversing back to the livery,
we're getting a chassis listed.
Yeah, the livery itself, being that black, was kind of unique, and it was modelled off a Super Tourer from the UK. But again, I don't know how that came about. I think Alf obviously saw it and liked it, and he always wanted his car to be black and then apply the kind of Castrol colours and logos to it, and it looked really cool. And you know, the photo there from the Australian Grand Prix support races, where Alf did a bit of damage as well to that car, but it's a pretty cool privateer Castrol Commodore.
The cars of the British Touring Car Championship were Castrol back with the Nissan Primera factory cars that were running when the 2-litre series was really just starting to get pumping. So I think that on a Mustang, Thomas, would look cool. And being black, it stands out different from the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it's a simple livery as well, so it's probably quite easy to do, and it's something that's unique in its own way. And to Jack's point, there's all Castrol liveries are generally iconic, and there's never really a bad Castrol livery. So I think that's something that could definitely work for sure.
You've always got to replicate them in a way that the current sponsors can be integrated into the liveries. And I think I remember that I haven't looked at that photo closely for a while, but I think it's got Nine's Wide World of Sports on the bonnet. How do we go with that? Do you have to change that to Fox Sports for this year?
Fox Wide World of Sports. we're very fortunate, actually, Noons, that the last couple of years we've done the retro rounds. A lot of our partners have come on board and actually changed their logo to suit the rest of the car because sometimes it won't work if you don't actually do that. So we've been quite fortunate that we've actually been able to move some partners around, change their colours to make it work. Because when you're going to do a retro livery, you want to do it as best as you can.
The last thing you want is fans going,
it's not quite right.
Not quite right. Like it's halfway there, but it's halfway not there. So let's have a look at, you can't do a Castrol special and talk about retro liveries without taking a look at a Larry Perkins Commodore, 1993, the Bathurst winning VP Commodore. I mean, I know this sort of livery's been done over time, but Jack, it's such an important car in Bathurst and V8 history. It's the last Holden-powered Holden to win the Bathurst 1000. First win for Perkins Engineering in the great race, the late, great Greg Hansford with your dad. There's so many elements here that I don't think fans would get sick of this if you bowled this out again.
No, I don't think they would. I guess the only thing I reckon that fans might frown upon is putting a Holden livery with a Holden engine on a Ford Mustang, Noons. That might cause a bit of controversy amongst some of those GM faithful. But yeah, we did this on that Erebus Super 2 car, the ZB Commodore, in 2023, and we got the wheels painted white, which I think was the ticket to making it look right when we did the photos, because I had white wheels back then, and it looked the part. And it's a bit of an ageless livery, you know, and a lot of people don't realise it actually started on a VL Commodore that year before the VP was built. And you think it looks good on a VP, check it out on the Batmobile, on the VL Walkinshaw, it looks grouse.
What about when it's upside down in the sand at Simmons?
Not as grouse, but that's still the start of that iconic livery, which Dad and the team ran right through to the end of 97. And then when 98 come around, they went for thicker stripes. But as we've seen, like I touched on at the top, this similar livery was applied to Rick's Nissan and to Tom's Mustang last year. And no matter what you put it on, it looks great.
Yeah, I have to agree. And of course, the magazine behind you, V8 Sleuth Mag, one of our early issues, featured the 93 Bathurst winning car. I'd like to mix it up a little bit here. And I think this is one that's got to be absolutely looked at for the future. You could be a Cougar, Thomas Randle. How about the Castrol Cougars from 97, 98? This is a shot, I think, from the 97 Bathurst race. Karen Brewer, Mel Price. I think you could be a Cougar.
You reckon?
Yeah, you could do this. You could do this.
That'll be interesting, I got to say. Again, it's quite a plain livery, so we haven't seen this being done as a retro livery. So yeah,
well, we haven't seen a Cougars car since 98.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and I'm sure we'll cover it in a future Castrol episode, but the 98 car probably looked a bit more Castrol-y without there's many of the Cougar kind of claw marks.
Yeah.
That looked quite cool when Dad ran that car in the main series at Surface Paradise that year.
Yeah, he was a Cougar for a weekend.
He was a Cougar for a weekend. And so those liveries are kind of lost with a lot of people because they didn't race the whole year. Karen and Melinda Price got to share a couple of touring car rounds throughout the year, but they updated the livery for 98, and I'm sure the AN1 archives will produce a few photos from their Noons.
Yeah, there's a few of those around. And a lot of people don't remember that was the 95 winning Bathurst car that became the Cougars car in the years that followed, and it still ran the Holden engine for the girls when they drove that car. So that's one to put on the radar, Thomas. But if you think Cougars is not quite your thing, or you're not going to quite be able to do it, let's have a look at a Castrol Ford, because that might be something that's a bit more up your alley for your Mustang. How about this? Tony Longhurst, 1999 AU Falcon. Of course, he had run his own team for a long time, had been previously BMWs and then made the move and was Castrol for quite some years. This is the AU Falcon from his last year of running his own team. Had a macro co-drove with him at the Enduros. I think that on a Mustang's going to work.
Yeah, I agree. I think that could be really nice. And the way that the livery goes, the green runs up on the front of the grille, on the sides, all the way over the bonnet. I think that could really work on the Mustang. One thing that I just love with all these retro liveries is the numbers on the doors, and that's something that we've done when we've run our retro liveries.
Well, we have seen in recent times, Pete Hughes, the ace designer, he's done a lot of your cars over time, has gone and taken some of the liveries of this year's supercars, put numbers on them to see what they look like. I think they look good. So I think if you're going to do any of these liveries, put the number on the door in the same font, make it look the way. I look at that Castrol Longhurst car too and have a look at some of the other partners that are involved back in the day. Might be a tip-off for your commercial department to maybe hit up a few of those sponsors and see if you get Pura Milk and Hog's Breath Cafe and whoever else was on Tony's car back in the day to come along and get on board for those ones, because it's a way to pay for all the rewrapping of the cars and all the merch and all the stuff that you got to do.
They're listening. I do love a glass of milk.
It's doing deals. I think that would work for a Mustang. And when you can do a Ford livery on a Ford, that also works.
Oh, I agree with you. And the other part of all of that was when Longhurst first started with his Falcons, they had the same livery as Dad's cars with the black bonnet. Then he switched that, inverted the black with the red. So you notice this has got the red bonnet. What I would have loved to have seen was a big green bonnet. In another inversion.
So could we maybe do that for this? Like take a livery, but it's inspired by a Longhurst car, but we flip the colours around to create a new livery that's inspired by an old one.
Something like that. I think it'd be quite cool. But that was a good way to tell those two cars apart, because back in 95 when Longhurst had the same livery on the Falcon, like from a distance, they kind of looked the same, the black bonnet and the Castrol signage. And then Tony eventually changed to a red bonnet. And I just think, that would be quite cool to see the green, because people relate green with Castrol. But I think you're right. The red bonnet on the Mustang would look pretty cool.
We've got options flowing on this Castrol special of what the retro car for Thomas for later in the year could be. I'd like to add another one to the mix here. So as we moved along with the Castrol liveries, the rise of V8 supercars, clearly at Castrol, they went, right, we've got different products. We want to try to find a way to make them stand out and make them look different. I give to you the Russell Ingall Silver Bullet from 1999, the SLX Commodore, that amazing silver livery. I think didn't they call him the Chrome Dome back there because he ran the helmet the same as the car?
Yeah, and the car, like today, it would be quite easy to replicate that because of all the technology that is available. But back then, the war paint, the helmet painter actually had to paint the metallic through it, and that was a big job because, not many people knew how to do that. And for a helmet painter to kind of apply that trick metallic silver on the bonnet and everything, and then for Russell to go and be an enforcer and tear it up every weekend, it was a big job to get the sign writing right on that, like long before cars were getting wrapped and the ease of all that. So this was a full paint job. And you notice the SLX logo is like a Harlequin metallic.
Sort of ripples and...
Yeah. So it was ahead of its time, and people relate Russell Ingall to that silver bullet. So that is pretty cool. And I think that's kind of a start of a new livery sort of idea in supercars, because they were typically painted cars with a few stickers, whereas this was, airbrushed, metallic paints, different logos. It's sort of the start of new technology.
It was kind of a nice way to distinguish between the team's two cars that had otherwise been identical bar the names and the numbers on them. And maybe they used to do those little things where they'd put a little yellow tab on a mirror or a windscreen to try to differentiate. But when the cars are zipping around so fast, it's hard to be able to tell the difference. But I could see you being a Chrome Dome, Thomas. I reckon you could go full silver spec here.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's funny how the Castrol is actually smaller than the
SLX.
Than the SLX. So they're really pushing the SLX there. But I think the only issue you'd have is that probably from a corporate colour point of view, where Castrol is now, they might not want to go for that. But in terms of being completely different, I think
that's
from that point of view,
want to do that.
Exactly.
Just make it stand out even more.
And you'd have to pick another product line, because I don't believe SLX has continued here in Australia. So,
but you could change the letters to something else.
I'm thinking
current.
SRF, brake fluid.
Just use the same logo. Use the same lettering.
Exactly
Right.
We're pushing brake fluid this month.
Well, truth be known, every supercars team uses SRF, even if they've got conflicting brands on their cars. But we'll leave it at that.
You've got to have the good gear.
Even if they pour the SRF into a mobile bottle. We know everyone's using SRF.
It's the best brake fluid on the market, Noons.
Oh, there you go. Jack's getting in. He is part of Castrol royalty, that's for sure. So SLX, I reckon, is one that would be great to consider. In 2000, the Canberra Street Race was a part of the V8 Supercar calendar, and I'm not sure if you guys remember, but it might be a little bit before your time. Maybe you were lurking around the pits a little bit in those days. It was cold. Queen's birthday weekend in June, freezing cold. Not much fun if you were standing around not in a hot race car, which was probably the best place to be. But Castrol for 2000 for Canberra came up with something that when I saw this was like, oh, whoa, this is good. I give you the Magnatec car, that amazing livery. It was a one-off. Never ran it before or since. Matched the colours of how you felt with how cold you were in Canberra. this has to be on the radar here. You might have to put a modern product on it, but in terms of the livery, there's no, oh yeah, they ran it the other year and the one before that and 5 years after that. Like that's a standout. That's one off.
And the thing with this, again, following on from that SLX car, was part of this was printed vinyl, which was so expensive back then. But it was modelled off the 5 litre tin of Magnatec. You know, it was that sort of bluey, purpley looking
the
colour.
packaging became the car.
Correct. And that's what the colour of the 5 litre container was. And interestingly, that bonnet has surfaced with one of my sponsors in Perth, TLC Auto Centre, has that bonnet hanging up in his collection of stuff. And that's pretty cool because there's only one bonnet. If Russell damaged that.
It wasn't a spare wrap ready to go.
No, it was I believe it was too expensive to have another wrapped part there, because that car, again, further than SLX, was even more labour intensive to get the livery right on it. None of the panels would have lined up if they did it again because yeah, so it was crazy. But talking about how cold it was and a little bit more product placement, that was one of the only places we had to run Castrol antifreeze, anti-boil, because it got that cold at night. They come in one morning and the radiator cores were frozen. So a little tidbit about Canberra.
So I got a funny feeling for later in the year. I don't think you're going to have that problem if you have that livery in your car.
Well, it is Sandown.
Well, it's true. It's
no matter
Melbourne.
what time of year it is, it's probably freezing.
Anything is possible.
Could be either.
Thoughts on Magnatec colour? I reckon that's a contender. So what we're going to do with these Castrol specials is that as the year goes on, we're going to come up with a mixture of cars, and then we're going to cull. And we're going to basically head-to-head them to get down to, and fans will have the chance to vote through the V8 Sleuth platform on which cars they want to get to the next round, and will ultimately get to a winning livery at the end. This one's got to be in the mix to compete because it's cool. I like it. What about you?
Yeah, it's absolutely. That's a fan favourite. And just going back to those last two liveries, I mean, they're both so unique in their own way. The Silver Bullet and then that Magnatec blue Holden, you know, they're the liveries that you wouldn't think are Castrol liveries. So I think that's quite unique and something that I'd like to see whether the fans vote for that. And that's also really cool that the livery that we're going to be running is going to be fan vote rather than what's happened the last 2 years.
And how has it been decided the last couple of years? Is it Castrol? Is it Tickford? Is it a bit of a combo? Like who's
maybe it could be us on the undercut. Yeah. Maybe we get in there.
Well, we're going to at least put the options out there for the fans to decide. But for the fans to choose, I think it's a great thing that Castrol are going to do to go, hey, look, we've probably got our thing that we like or the way that we want to do it corporately, but we're going to open it up here, which that doesn't happen very often that fans get to decide stuff. They'd love to decide more things in the sport, but here's a chance to do it.
So our 2024 livery, when we ran the Tom Supra, so Brad Keselowski ran that at Darlington for the retro race earlier in the year. And as soon as that came out, I was straight to Castrol and said, we have to run this. And we got permission from obviously Castrol Global and RFK to run the same livery, and we applied it to the Mustang. And yeah, that was, as we know, that was a favourite. And then with the livery last year, I actually went up to Kawangi and saw Larry, and
Did you go and seek his permission?
I believe so. I had to go through Castrol for that. But we filmed a really cool video with Larry, which went really well on social media. So whatever we end up deciding, well, not us, but the fans end up deciding, I'm sure it's going to be pushed pretty hard.
Just quickly about, is it Kawangi?
He butchered that.
I butchered that.
I was going to say
Kawangi.
So what's happened to the sign?
We got a new one donated by someone. I can't remember their company name, but I appreciate their support for donating and erecting up a new one.
So there's a sign as you drive in, which I think you filmed with.
Yeah, everyone thought, maybe we took the sign.
Which has got your dad on it, home of Larry Perkins. There had been a previous iteration of it that had been updated, and then it got pinched.
Got stolen. Yeah, someone we think suspected timing would be on the way home from Bathurst. I think it was last year or the year before.
Last year, yeah.
And that's the road from sort of Sydney to Adelaide. So someone potentially west of where we are would have a sign there, and at some stage they'll get a guilty conscience. But
they should hand it over.
Until such time, they haven't quite had that.
No names will have to be involved if you decide to give it up. Contact V8 Sleuth to see what things are like there. I've got a few more here that I want to ponder, and I know that a lot of these are Holdens because of the long history with Castrol and with Larry and the Perkins Engineering Squad. So let's go to 2005. So this is actually the last year of Castrol with PE. Steve Richards, who of course was the main man for Larry's team at the time. 2005, so we're talking VY, VZ, Commodore around this period. The Formula R car of 05. This is something that, gee, it feels like yesterday, but now you go 21 years ago. Time's flowing when you're having fun. Thoughts and feelings on this one?
What also is handy is we actually have BP Ultimate on the front of our front bar in the exact same spot as well.
Helpful.
So we're already looking good there. But another one, that's a real racy livery, I think, with the Formula R and whether we could do some cool activation with Stephen Richards as well if we did something like this. But again, the white wheels, that's something we've also done on our retro cars the last 2 years. That it makes such a difference.
I was going to say too, the other part to this that you just touched on, it's a good point, is when you can connect and involve the previous driver. So Larry's been involved with some of those videos, the Rick Kelly Nissan being unveiled and Thomas last year and that sort of stuff. If there was a Tony Longhurst livery, that'd be great because we don't see Tony at racing anymore. He's off doing all the other stuff in life. So there's a way that he could be back as part of that, or the Cougar girls could be there with Mel or Karen or both. Russell Ingall will need a lot of money to be able to come to an event. I guess we need to do a deal, but I'm sure if we twisted his arm the right way, Richo's always up for doing stuff that's connected to history in the past. But having the original driver or drivers connected into this stuff too is really part of it as well.
Yeah, it joins it all together, and especially when they embrace it and drag out their old race suits or helmets or whatever and be a part of it. But the other thing, so that 2005 was the second year with the Formula R branding, but you might remember we went to China. That year they ran Castrol and there was some Chinese GTX oil font there. So that's a unique livery that year. We could run the Chinese symbols down the side.
The Shanghai Special at Sandown.
Somehow spells GTX oil, I think it was. So that was quite cool seeing a slight variation of that particular livery throughout that year.
And that was a period where Richo was really competitive for those couple of years that he was with LP's team. 04, 05, he won races and ran at the front. I think he won a race in China, did he not?
I think they was, if they
second.
didn't win, they were second. They were there or thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, right up there in the mix. Thomas, I know we've had a lot of Holdens. Good news for you now. We've got a Ford for you to have a look at here. This is 2007, and this is your team. This is Ford Performance Racing, as it was known then. It's Tickford Racing now, but it's the same place, and some of the faces are still the same from back in the day. There's a handful of them still in the building. Steve Richards, Mark Winterbottom. This is when they could pair the main guys together for the endurance races. And at Sandown that year, they ran separate. Mark Winterbottom stayed in the Orcon car with
Matt Halliday.
Correct. Started on pole. And Richo drove with Owen Kelly.
Got a podium.
Got a third place.
Yep.
But then for Bathurst, they put them together and they came up with this fused livery, which I miss that about the Enduros and the ability to have kind of like this refresh where, and a lot of teams hated it because they went, we want our main guys to be together, but they've got different sponsors and it's hard. And Stones had the same thing for a while too, but they all found a way.
Yep.
And FPR found a way. And this was the car that did everything but win Bathurst in 07. This is the one that Frosty went flying off through the chase, launched it out the other side. The race has gone off, I think Crompton said is the famous call. But this car, red, orange, I'm not sure what you could stick in the Orcon blue section that matches with your current partners, but I like this in that it links to your team and the same manufacturer.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Noons, is that this links perfectly with Tickford. It's a Tickford or FPR livery. And like you said, it missed out on winning Bathurst with what happened down at the chase. But again, red bonnet, so that's iconic. It's got edge on the side, Castrol edge, so there's some really good connections there. And that had the Falcon on the side as well. That's always a fan favourite as well. And Tickford actually ran, I think it was 2018, they ran a Falcon on the side of, I can't remember if it was one of the Stanaway car.
For the end of Falcon.
Yeah. So that was again a fan favourite. So I feel like this could be where I'll be landing my heart.
Tommy's warming up to this. Yeah. He's feeling this. He's feeling this. And we talked about getting the original drivers to be involved in this. Where you can get the original car involved is also great. There's a small problem with this one, though. Car doesn't exist anymore. It was, it's the car that Steve Richards had that crash in at Eastern Creek the next year. It was stripped. They had to use the jaws of life to get the engine out of the thing, and it sat as a smashed up chassis at the back on the fuel dump out the back of the workshop. And eventually it got turfed.
And then it got swapped for Chaz's wrecked car, and that then sat at the back of Tickford for a while.
And it lives at the National Motor Racing Museum now. So we would have to re-sticker someone else's BA or BF as it was then, Falcon, to be able to have a car that looked like for like in the race weekend match to yours. Or we just get an old photo from the files, shoot your car on the same angle and put them together. It's probably the best way to do it. I want to go back in the files. As years have gone on, race car liveries have got more and more involved, more sponsors to include, more colours, more graphics, more everything. Way back when things were far more simple. So let's have a look at this. This is the Pete Gagan famous championship-winning Mustang. This is a shot of it at the Muscle Car Masters in more modern times. But back in those days, have a look at the minimal signage on these cars. I mean, Castrol, Ford, Firestone. I still don't know why they ran a Hardy Ferodo 500 logo on that car because it didn't race in the Great Race. It was different rules and different cars. But the green line, it's an iconic, famous car. Green matches in with Castrol now. 55 instead of 11 as it was in that photo. Maybe less is more?
Yeah, this would be pretty cool. And I think, like this would have been hand-painted back in the day, which is probably why some of the wrong logos stayed on there. It's too hard to get rid of them. But you're right. It's a really cool livery, and something like this on a modern-day Mustang with the door number and some nice big Castrol branding would be pretty cool. I'd love to see something, but yeah, you might find yourself in a bit of trouble because the logos won't be big enough in today's age, Noons.
You might just have to pump them up a bit.
Let's just remember that everyone's in there to get their exposure. So, look, it would be a tricky one to get over the line, but nonetheless, it's great to look at it. And like you say, minimalistic, but would look great.
I wonder what they would have had on the windscreen banners if they even had a windscreen banner back then. No.
Yeah, no, back before the day of names or... I mean, there was a rule for many, many years that you couldn't advertise above the glass line. So you couldn't advertise on your roof, for example. You could put your number on there, but you couldn't go and put a sponsor logo. But I guess it's before the days of helicopter shots and all that sort of stuff too. So that Mustang won the championship 3 years in a row, 67, 68, and 69, which was the first year that multiple races decided the championship. I mean, back in the day, it was one race decided the Australian Touring Car Championship. So if you stuffed up and had a bad day, you had to wait till next year to have another crack at it, which is... kind of mind-blowing, isn't it?
Peter Jansen, didn't he change his surname so he could have the sponsor name?
No, he changed his first name.
Oh, his first name.
By deed poll.
NGK
Jansen. So he said, well, I can put my name. You're allowed to put your name on the windscreen line. That's exactly, great point. That's exactly what he did to be able to say, well, I'm not advertising. It's my name. I've changed my name. Smart call. We're not done. I've got one more to throw in the mix, and it's actually a Castrol cart, not a car. I give you James Courtney's Castrol cart from... Have a look at young James here on this shot. I mean, that smile hasn't stopped. He's still grinning like a Cheshire cat these days. But could we replicate a cart livery on a race car? Can we make this happen?
Well, I mean, it's kind of got the same sawtooth livery, doesn't it, as what we ran last year and you know, that famous Perkins livery. So, I mean, you could. I just think it's probably, very similar to what we ran. I mean, again, very successful with James, winning the World Championship. So, I think it's, potential.
It is a copy, isn't it, of the kind of sawtooth. I think if my years are correct, that must be about 95, 96, 97 for JC.
I think it might be even earlier.
Earlier than that? Yeah, well, because Mark Winterbottom also ran the Castrol cart in livery as well at one point.
This is a press shot that we dug out of the files at our office, and I have a feeling it's before he won that first. So 95, he won his first World Championship.
Yeah, so
I think
probably
it might be a year or two before
93,
that.
94.
Yeah, I think it might be.
So it's definitely that's a copy of an LP livery then.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a retro in itself.
So we could retro a retro of a retro, basically. It would be tricky, but it might be a way to play it. And, of course, James is around. He's part of the broadcast team these days, so you could always rope him in.
He would get amongst it, absolutely.
But would you change your helmet to look like him or borrow one of his?
I don't think he'd lend me his helmet unless it was for a fee.
He's probably still got that. I think JC's got all his helmets.
Every helmet.
Yeah.
He's got a huge collection of those things lying around. So
how's the hair?
He loves it.
Absolutely.
He's a good-looking young fellow, good-looking young rooster. They are just some of the possibilities in this Castrol special. You will have the chance to vote on Thomas's retro livery for later in the year in the Supercars Championship on the 55 Mustang for Tickford Racing. That's just a small sample, guys, of the sort of stuff. There was I've got pages more of this stuff that we can roll out in upcoming episodes. But when we see you next time on a Castrol special, we're going to hone it down. We're going to give you a big list to choose from, and then we're going to start doing episodes to cull our way down to eventually get to the livery that you will carry later in the year on the 55 Mustang. Sound like a plan?
That's great. I'm excited.
Any of these already starting to give you an idea of where you'd like it to go? Are you going to be sitting there voting on the website just over and over, tapping the button?
Going to just set up some VPNs and, multiple tabs. Yeah, I like this one. I like this one.
Tick.
It just makes you realise again how many amazing liveries Castrol have done over the years. I mean, they're so unique in their own ways. And even the liveries that have been done in the last 20 years, that we haven't got because they're not really retro. But, I mean, it just shows, doesn't it, what's possible?
Yeah. I mean, I love the Magnatec. I love the SLX. But you know what I want to do, Jack? I reckon we could start this. This could be a thing. I want Thomas Randle to be a Cougar.
Hang on, or a Chrome Dome.
Or a Chrome Dome. A Cougar Chrome Dome. Can we put them together?
No.
Oh, that could be dangerous. That could be very dangerous. Hey, hope you've enjoyed this Castrol special. It's been a great chance to step through history and take a look at some great liveries from over time. Jack Perkins, thank you to you.
Thank you, mate.
Thomas Randle. Who knows what you're going to be carrying next year, later on in this year, I should say, in the Supercars Championship. We're going to go retro with Castrol Racing and Tickford this year. You have your chance to have your say. When we come back on another episode, we'll narrow this down and give you some options. We'll see you then.